Okay, moving on to our advanced operations. On the agenda currently are two resolution titles, option 1 and option 2. At our last meeting, we voted in favor of option 1 with one question on the referendum for our next vote, with the initial resolution to not exceed $22,900,000, and then it goes into 2, resolution providing for a referendum election on the question of approval of initial resolution. It was asked, and I sent this out to the board, that an option 2 be added in the case of, after additional discussion tonight, us as a board decided to move in a different direction of having 2 questions on the referendum ballot during our April election, which would be to have the first question in the amount not to exceed $6 million, and then the second question with general obligation bonds in the amount not to exceed $16,900,000. So this is action that our board does need to take tonight. We can have more discussion on this, and we had discussion on this at our last meeting. As I said, currently the motion was made at our last meeting to do option 1, but I want to respect everyone, and because this is a big decision and a big thing with our community and our town, to make sure that we know we're going in the right direction and allow people to have that discussion.
So the first one on option 2 is the elementary school.
The first one in option 2 would be the
work at the elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
And then the number 2 would be the rest of it.
Yes.
Why do you have number 3, I guess? I mean, you wouldn't have that on the ballot.
No, but they both have to be there. You'll see for option 1, it's the exact same thing on number 2. That's not, this isn't ballot information necessarily.
Isn't this splitting it? Option 2?
Yep, but so for option 1 and option 2, they both have the exact same. So for option 1, you can see number 2. For option 2, it's number 3. We have to approve that tonight. That has nothing to do with whether it's 1 or 2 questions.
It's just the wording for the resolution.
Right.
That has to be, it's required to be on the agenda the way it is. And that was part of, even if we had discussion tonight, if we wouldn't have put option 2 like it is on the agenda, we couldn't have approved it if we did change our mind after a discussion, because we didn't have it posted prior on an agenda.
Do you know the tax impacts? Did we really get that?
So we started some work with PMA, and then when it was kind of moving back to, we're not sure if it's going to be 1 questions or 2, we kind of told them to wait, with the understanding that, their perception is, unless something crazy happens with interest rates, which they don't anticipate, that it will be no higher and most likely lower, because it's a lower dollar amount. So that's as much as we did. I basically pushed pause, waiting for this meeting so I can bring back to them, here's exactly what we're doing, and now help us build the model.
No, higher. So when we did the referendum in the fall, it was a higher amount for the first question, and that was only $4 per 100,000. So are you saying that the cost for this, whether it's 1 question or 2, will probably be around the same, $4 per 100,000?
Yep, so PMA said you can anticipate most likely it wouldn't be higher, that it would be lower, and in the same ballpark-ish, but they didn't have all the information in terms of interest rates and things like that, because frankly I told them to wait. I said, let's not go any further until we know for sure, are we dealing with 1 or 2 questions. So, their belief is that this will be ballpark/lower.
And that $4 was regarding the 22.9.
Well, that $4 was more than 22.9.
Yep.
Could be slightly less.
Huh?
Could be slightly less than $4.
Yeah.
But then there was also talk when we mentioned if it was divided into 2 questions, and the first question was the $6 million, that how it would reflect would almost reflect as though wouldn't be this way, but in the eyes of how much are you paying, it would really look to taxpayers as they're not paying anything.
Mhm.
Gross reduction.
Mhm.
Yes.
Right.
That's the stuff I have a hard time understanding how to.
So the reason I asked Lacey to get some information on how it would be worded, I did not ask for it to be on the agenda, I just asked for the wording, so that we didn't have a delay in moving forward. This resolution has to be approved a minimum of 70 days before the election. So we have until like January 25th or January 26th. I strongly support everything in this referendum. However, there's going to be another referendum question on the ballot, April 4th as well. St. Croix County is going to referendum for a operational increase of more than $3.5 million to be added every year going forward if it passes to their budget above the revenue cap. Also, we know from our school perceptions report that there's strong support in the community for the elementary maintenance. And we absolutely have to have that. We're getting bills every month for what my father-in-law would say was willy wire and duct taping things together just to keep it going. And we have strong support in the community for it. The school perceptions report said it was too close to call for 22 million. And we're at 22.9. I am hopeful that our community will see what we did in reducing to make this a lower amount than what we asked for the first time. And if they do see that and they agree with it, they can pass it as 2 questions just as easily as 1. And the question that I've been asked by community members is, if you're putting this all in 1 question, do you really need the money for the elementary school? Because if you really needed the money for the elementary school, wouldn't you do it separately? So whatever the board decides, I will support, absolutely. But is it a gamble you're willing to take?
I would say it's all absolutely needed.
I understand, and I
You agree?
agree. But we can limp by, but not without the elementary funds. We can't do the maintenance on the $6 million, we can't do it.
That's a complete replacement. What was the original amount to fix what was there? It was about 50,000, wasn't it?
Some of the HVAC. Not, so it didn't encompass like playground, all that kind of stuff, but the needed, the HVAC, I chose.
There's a line,
I recognize what Lori's saying, I think with that elementary school. I think one of the things that really is holding me to 1 question is kind of what Ian said, I think, but also I think some of the misconceptions that came out of 2 questions the last referendum. And I think some of the, even how you're saying like, oh, well, they don't need these things if they need 1, but I think that there was just, I mean, remember we were sitting in a volleyball game with some of the referendum, it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna vote for question 2 and not question 1. I just think 1 I agree, I mean, I've thought long and hard, Lori, and I totally, I recognize what you're saying, I think those are all really good points. But I also go back to when Shannon held informational sessions, and there's 15 people to really learn about those things, having something more clear cut, if people don't do their research and don't do that, that's what's holding me to one question. And I've gone like, are you willing to take that risk? And I've thought about that. So I completely respect what you're saying. I think those points, but I look at the last referendum and I look at how many people really informed themselves and really had all the information, and just look at how it looks on paper versus one question or two question, and that's what I keep going back to. But I will also go with, if the board changes, I mean, I think, as Lori said, I am behind this referendum either way, and I hope that us as a board can be unified as moving forward in any way, so.
Yeah,
I would be comfortable with
I
the
hear what
majority thinks.
I hear what you're saying, Lori, and I actually kind of agree with you. I just hesitate on two questions because I think it's the optics of this is gonna actually put money back in your pocket, this will cost you a little bit. People didn't understand it last time, they're not gonna understand it now, but I don't know, two questions, maybe actually wouldn't be a bad thing.
I think two questions would be, now I thought about it, and I think it would be better. We have to get that elementary one passed. They really have to have something done there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm just worried with the third question from the county, now there's three questions. That's the only thing.
We don't have any control over that one.
Nope.
Are we on the ballot above them?
Did we get there first?
I guess we've heard from Shannon, we've heard from everybody that there's a need for all the things that the gyms, the fields, the auditorium, the elementary school, there's a need for all of it. It's all a need here. And we've been piecemealing this thing my whole life here. And I agree. I mean, that makes perfect sense. I didn't know about the county thing. I mean, I get it. We need to pass that. But I don't want to, again, settle for something that we're never, ever going to get. We're never going to get an auditorium. And the kids and the staff and the people of this community deserve something more. I just went to Osceola and there's an auditorium. And Johnny goes, "What is that?" I go, "Well, most schools around here have these." I go, "We were trying to get one." I mean, it's right there, right next to the gym. I mean, I get it and I understand. And if our community can't see that yes, we need to help our elementary school update, but we also need to have an auditorium and have a nice place.
For arts and.
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say it here. So I think we really, I don't want to settle. I didn't want to settle from the 40 million from day one, but I get it. And I didn't want to settle all the way through. But again, 28 million or 25 million, whatever it was, 25.8, gets us closer to what we want. We took another 3 million off of here just to say, hey, we're not even trying to upsell this thing. We're trying to make it work as close to what we thought we could get approved as possible. And it's another 3 million dropping. I mean, we all think it's a need, but I just don't want to settle for any of this stuff, and I hope everyone understands that. And again, I go back to what Lee or Dr. Pritzel or Pritzel, whatever, he said, we have to do our part to make sure that this passes, and I want to make sure that I do more to make sure that this thing does go through, and I find, our know people and say, help me out here. help me understand, we need this. This isn't just a want, so I mean, I have to do more than what was done last time. And again, I don't want the 2 questions. I really think that'll hurt us getting them both approved, and I don't want to not have what we need, portion of what we need. Again,
I worry about how the numbers are presented,
yeah, it's just a piece of information. that
because we
have to
know that,
Talk
like,
through.
any other discussion? This is hard. I mean, I think we all want the same. I truly, I think, but it's, as you said, Lori, or is that a chance we're willing to take? I think this is a gamble. This is something that we all, I think everybody at this table wants it all, but it's, in our eyes, what's our personal opinion on how we think we're gonna get it? And I think everybody has really good points, and how are we gonna move forward with it? So, I guess at this point, if there is no further
So
discussion.
is it either option 1 or option 2? Is that what our motion would be?
So we would need a motion to go forward with the resolution title of option 1 or the resolution title of option 2, yes.
Well, I'll just make a motion to go forward with option 1 as presented.
A second.
Is there further discussion? Then, I think being, the vote that it is, we'll go ahead and go through a roll call vote. The option or the motion on the table right now is option 1, which would include what is listed as number 1 as 1 question on the referendum for April.
Lori, do you-
Well, I don't know if there's anything we can do about this now, because unless you take back your motion, I think I want to support whatever the majority of the board votes for. So before we go forward with a formal motion, can we just ask each person, what, do you think we should go with 1 question or 2 questions? And then when we make our motion, it can be unanimous?
Yeah, I'm a 1 question.
Okay. I mean, Lacey, can we do that?
Well, I think so, we're not voting, I'm not going through the
Okay.
roll call vote,
So-
so this is in our discussion right now.
This is our still
discussion, and I
discussion.
think that's a good, I think I've had a lot of thought about this, and my gut's telling me 1.
Okay.
1.
Okay, I was 2, but if the majority is 1, I will go with 1.
Marge, you were 1, but now you've changed, kind of, or you're
Yeah,
willing to
but
do.
it's not the majority, so 1.
Any other I mean, I appreciate that, because I do, and we've had this discussion, we've had, I know this was discussion even months and months ago, like, how do we move forward as a board showing unity that we're all supporting the same thing? And I think that this is really good, I think our hearts are all in the right place as far as where we want our district to go, and I think it's okay, now it's that hard piece as a board, like, how are we gonna make that happen?
So the motion is on the table and seconded, and,
Yes, so let's go through now and do a roll call vote. Matt, I always start over here, so Matt, can we start with you? Matt?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes?
Lori?
yes.
Marge?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you for that good discussion.